Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing another deep dive today, and you guys wanted to know more about fat loss.
Mhm.
Not just like the basic stuff, but the real nitty-gritty,
Yeah.
how your body actually works. So we dug into unlocking fat loss, 7 keys to neuroendocrine optimization to get you those answers.
Right.
And this book, it goes way beyond, just counting calories.
It does.
It really digs into like the complex world of hormones and the nervous system.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating about it is it really highlights that connection,
Yeah.
between your nervous system and your hormones, like
Right.
what we call the neuroendocrine system,
Right.
and the huge role it plays in fat loss.
It always makes me think of like, that friend we all have who can just like eat whatever they want
Oh, yeah.
and not gain an ounce.
Right.
And I always thought it was magic, but maybe it's really just like how their neuroendocrine system is wired.
That's a great point, and is probably a big part of it.
Yeah.
One of the key players in this system is, of course, our fat cells.
Okay.
And they have these things called adrenergic receptors, which are like these little sensors
Uh-huh.
on the surface of the cell.
So walk me through this. What are these receptors all about?
Well, these receptors, they come in two main types, alpha and beta,
Okay.
and they respond to adrenaline and noradrenaline.
Uh,
The hormones your body releases when you're in that fight or flight mode.
yeah.
That feeling you get when you're stressed or, facing a challenge.
Right. Adrenaline rush.
Exactly. That adrenaline rush is what triggers these receptors.
Okay. So it's that rush that triggers a receptor.
Exactly. Now, activating the beta receptors is like hitting the go button on fat burning.
Okay.
It kicks off this process called lipolysis,
Uh-huh.
where stored fat gets broken down into fatty acids that can be used for energy.
So more beta activation equals more fat burning.
Yeah.
I'm with you so far.
Okay, cool.
But you mentioned 2 types. So what about these alpha receptors?
The alpha receptors, particularly a subtype called alpha-2 receptors,
Okay.
those are more like the stop button for fat loss.
Oh.
So when they're activated, they actually hinder fat burning.
Interesting. So it's like a constant tug of war with
Exactly.
these 2.
Yes, and to make it even more complex,
Oh, great.
we tend to have more alpha receptors in certain areas,
Ugh.
like the belly, especially for men.
Oh, yeah.
And this could be one reason why belly fat can be so stubborn to lose.
It's so true.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed that you tend to hold on to fat more in certain areas than others?
Absolutely. Like my body has its own zip code
Right.
for where it wants to store fat.
Exactly.
So if exercise triggers that fight or flight,
Yeah.
does that mean hitting the gym is the key to unlocking those fat-burning beta receptors?
You're thinking in the right direction.
Okay.
Exercise does play a crucial role,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not quite as straightforward as you might think. It's not just about burning calories. The book talks about the importance of blood flow and nerve connection to your fat cells,
Okay.
terms they refer to as like irrigation and innervation.
Hold on. So our fat cells need like a good blood supply and nerve connection
Mm.
to actually work properly.
Yes.
That's not something I've ever really thought about.
Right. It's like a critical piece of the puzzle
Yeah.
that we often overlook. Think of it this way.
Okay.
If a fat cell is isolated
Well,
with poor blood flow and nerve connection,
right.
it's like a house tucked away on like a deserted road.
Okay.
It's harder for those fat-burning signals to reach it,
Yeah.
even when you're exercising
Right.
and your hormones are surging.
That makes sense.
Right.
So by exercising, we're kind of paving the way
Exactly.
for those signals.
Yes, and this is why like mixing up your workout routine can be so beneficial.
Okay.
High-intensity workouts get those adrenaline and noradrenaline pumping,
Yeah.
activating those beta receptors.
Wow.
But that lower-intensity exercise is important for what we call fat oxidation. Right.
The actual process of burning those fatty acids for energy.
So it's about finding that balance between pushing yourself
Exactly.
and allowing your body to recover and use those fatty acids.
Exactly.
But we also have to remember that life isn't all about intense workouts.
Right.
We're all dealing with stress on a daily basis.
We are.
And that fight or flight, it's like our body's reaction to stress, right?
Exactly. And this is where the concept of what's called the autonomic nervous system comes in.
Okay.
So it has 2 branches.
Uh-huh.
The sympathetic nervous system,
Okay.
which is our fight or flight mode,
Right.
and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest mode.
So it's kind of like a seesaw.
Yeah.
We need to find that sweet spot
You got it.
between those two systems.
A healthy balance is essential for overall health and for fat loss too.
Yeah.
But chronic stress can keep us kind of stuck
Yeah.
in that sympathetic fight or flight mode,
Right.
which can hinder fat loss in the long run. So how do we know if our nervous system is out of whack? Is there a way to measure that?
There is. It's called heart rate variability, or HRV.
Okay.
It measures the variation in time between your heartbeats.
Uh-huh.
So good HRV, meaning lots of variation, indicates a healthy balance.
Right.
The ability to adapt to stress.
Okay.
Low HRV suggests that your system is kind of stuck in overdrive.
So if you're stressed out all the time,
Yeah,
your HRV is going to be low,
probably.
and that could be contributing to holding onto that stubborn fat.
It definitely could be.
Wow. I'm starting to see how all these pieces of the puzzle fit together.
Yeah.
But, let's be honest. When most people think about fat loss, they think about, hitting the treadmill or cutting carbs,
Yeah.
not necessarily about building muscle.
Right. And that's where they might be missing a key piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
Muscle plays a crucial role in fat loss.
Really?
In fact, I'd argue that focusing on building and maintaining muscle should be a top priority.
Okay. Now I'm really intrigued. Tell me more about this fat-burning powerhouse.
All right, well, for starters, muscle is metabolically active tissue.
Okay.
It burns more calories than fat even when you're at rest.
Oh, wow.
This means the more muscle you have, the higher your basal metabolic rate.
Mm-hmm.
The number of calories you burn just by existing.
Wait, so even when I'm sleeping or binge-watching TV,
Yeah,
my muscles are working hard to burn those calories.
they are.
Now, that's multitasking.
I know, right? But it goes beyond just burning calories at rest.
Okay.
Muscle also plays a key role in burning fat during and after exercise.
Uh-huh.
Think of your muscles as little furnaces
Okay.
that help you incinerate those fatty acids,
Wow.
released during lipolysis.
So the more muscle we have,
Yes,
the more efficient our bodies are at burning fat.
precisely. And it goes beyond just burning calories.
Okay.
Muscle mass is also linked to better metabolic health,
Okay.
especially insulin sensitivity,
Yeah.
which is so important for long-term weight management.
This is a great reminder that it's not just about shrinking our bodies.
Yeah,
It's about building a healthier, more resilient metabolism.
it is.
And it sounds like muscle is a key part of that.
It is.
But let's be real, not everyone loves hitting the weights.
I know.
Are there other, maybe more surprising ways to boost our metabolism?
Absolutely. Have you ever heard of fidgeting?
Of course, I'm a world-class fidgeter.
Really?
I'm constantly tapping my feet, clicking my pen.
Oh, wow.
You name it.
Okay.
But are you telling me that those little movements can actually make a difference when it comes to fat loss?
Believe it or not,
Wow.
those seemingly insignificant movements can add up. Fidgeting, or what's sometimes called NEAT,
Okay.
non-exercise activity thermogenesis,
Oh, yeah.
can actually contribute significantly
Wow.
to your daily calorie expenditure.
Really?
It might even explain why some people can seemingly eat more without gaining weight.
Oh?
They might just be naturally more fidgety.
So those of us who can't sit still
Yeah.
might actually have an advantage when it comes to fat loss?
Maybe you do.
Well, that's a win for the fidgeters
Right.
out there.
Yeah.
So even if you're not naturally a fidgeter, you can find ways to incorporate more movement into your day.
You can try a standing desk,
Oh, yeah.
tap your feet during meetings, or even use a fidget toy.
Right.
Every little bit counts.
This is so great. It's all about finding those little ways to move more,
Yeah,
even if it's not a structured workout.
exactly.
But even with exercise, a balanced nervous system and a little extra fidgeting,
Right.
let's face it, cravings can be a real struggle.
They can be.
Is there anything we can do to manage those cravings without relying solely on willpower?
Yes. The book highlights a few science-backed strategies for taming cravings.
Okay.
One of them involves an amino acid called glutamine.
Okay. Glutamine? What's funny?
So glutamine is pretty fascinating
Yeah.
because it can actually help reduce those sugar cravings.
Okay.
And it does this by increasing GLP-1,
Mm-hmm.
a hormone that signals to your brain that you're full and satisfied.
So it's like tricking your body into thinking it's had enough
Right
of
now.
the sugary treats.
Yeah.
I like that. What else is in our arsenal?
Another powerful tool is glucomannan.
Okay.
It's a type of fiber that absorbs water in your stomach,
Yeah.
making you feel fuller.
So it's kind of like a natural appetite suppressant.
Exactly. And it can be helpful for managing those between meal cravings.
This is all great information. I can't believe we've covered so much ground already.
I know, right?
But before we move on,
Yeah.
there's one piece of the puzzle I want to get your take on.
Okay.
The gut microbiome.
Yes.
I know it's been a hot topic lately.
It has.
But how does it fit into the fat loss equation?
That's a fantastic question. And you're right, the gut microbiome is getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
Okay.
It plays a surprisingly big role in how our bodies process food, store fat, and even regulate our metabolism.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Okay, so a healthy and diverse gut microbiome can actually improve the extraction of energy from food.
Okay.
This means we're kind of getting more bang for our buck from the foods that we eat.
Okay.
But it also plays a key role in regulating fat storage and breakdown, influencing whether those fatty acids are stored or burned for energy.
So it's like having a team of tiny helpers
You could say that.
working behind the scenes
Yeah.
to optimize our metabolism.
They are. And the gut microbiome even influences insulin sensitivity,
Wow.
which, as we discussed earlier, is so important for long-term weight management.
This is amazing.
Right.
So how do we cultivate a healthy gut microbiome
Okay.
to help support our fat loss?
Great question. One of the best things you can do is include fermented foods in your diet.
Right.
Things like sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurt, kefir,
Okay.
all those delicious tangy foods.
I love those.
Yeah.
But what about people who are new to fermented foods?
Start slow.
Okay.
A spoonful of sauerkraut with your meal or a small glass of kefir a day is a great way to begin introducing them.
Sounds easy enough.
Yeah.
What else can we do to nurture our gut bacteria?
Remember how we talked about the importance of managing stress for balancing the nervous system?
Right.
Well, stress impacts our gut health as well. Those same strategies, exercise, mindfulness, quality sleep, benefit both your mental state and your gut.
It all comes back to that holistic approach.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about what we eat, it's about how we live.
It is.
And speaking of what we eat, limiting processed foods and alcohol can make a big difference
Yes, it can.
in promoting a healthy gut environment.
It does.
So a balanced diet, stress management, and some sauerkraut
Mm-hmm.
could be the key to unlocking a healthier gut and potentially a healthier weight.
It's definitely a possibility, and it's a great question to ponder.
I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling like I've learned so much.
Me too.
It's clear that fat loss is so much more than just counting calories.
It really is.
It's about understanding this complex interplay
Mhm.
between our hormones, our nervous system, our muscles, and even those tiny bacteria in our gut.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most valuable things we've talked about today is that knowledge really is power.
I completely agree. The more we understand about how our bodies work,
Yes.
the better equipped we are to make those decisions about our health and well-being.
Exactly.
Welcome back. I don't know about you, but my mind is officially blown. We've uncovered so much about the science of fat loss already.
I know, it's fascinating.
Hormones, receptors, gut bacteria. It's incredible how much is going on behind the scenes.
It really is remarkable.
And as we kind of delve deeper into this subject,
Yeah.
I think it's important to address something that often comes up,
Uh-huh.
the influence of our genes.
Yes. Genetics.
You know, genetics can feel like this mysterious force when it comes to our weight,
Right.
especially fat loss.
Yeah.
You know, some people just seem to effortlessly stay slim,
Uh-huh.
while others struggle no matter how hard they try. So what does the book say about the role our genes play in our ability to actually lose fat?
Well, we know that genetics can influence a lot of factors related to our weight and body composition.
Okay.
Things like our body shape, our metabolic rate, even our tendency to store fat in certain areas.
So some of us might be genetically predisposed to having a harder time losing fat?
That's true, but here's the key takeaway.
Okay.
Genetics is not destiny.
I love that.
Yeah.
So while our genes might give us a certain blueprint,
Yeah.
our environment and lifestyle choices ultimately shape the final outcome.
Absolutely. So think of it this way.
Oh.
Our genes might load the gun,
Okay.
but our environment pulls the trigger.
Wow.
So, our environment encompasses everything from our diet and exercise habits
Right.
to our stress levels and even the bacteria in our gut factors.
No.
We have a lot more control over than our genes.
That is incredibly empowering.
It is.
So even if we're, genetically predisposed to maybe holding on to weight,
Yeah.
we can still make a huge difference by making healthy choices.
Exactly. And that's why focusing on those modifiable factors,
Mm-hmm.
nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress management,
Right.
is so powerful.
So let's talk about putting this knowledge into practice. What are some specific actionable steps
Yeah.
that people can take to optimize their fat loss efforts? Where do they start?
I think one of the most important things is to find a way of eating that works for you,
Okay.
that you can stick with long term.
Yeah.
It's not about finding the perfect diet.
Right.
It's really about creating a sustainable approach that nourishes your body and helps you reach your goals.
So ditch those restrictive fad diets
Yes.
and focus on building a healthy relationship with food.
Exactly. It's about finding a way of eating that makes you feel good,
Right.
both physically and mentally.
Right.
One that you can enjoy and maintain over time.
That makes so much sense.
Mm.
What about exercise? We talked about how important it is.
Yeah.
But what type of exercise is most effective for fat loss?
Remember how we discussed the importance of both lipolysis,
Right.
breaking down that stored fat,
Right.
and fat oxidation actually burning those fatty acids for energy?
Right.
Well, an ideal exercise program incorporates both high-intensity workouts
Uh-huh.
to trigger that release of those fat-burning hormones
Okay.
and lower-intensity exercise
Right.
to help your body burn those fatty acids efficiently.
So like a mix of cardio strength training and maybe even some of that fidgeting we talked about.
You got it.
Okay.
It's about finding that balance that challenges your body and keeps things interesting.
This is so helpful.
Yeah.
But we've also talked a lot about the importance of these other lifestyle factors
Right.
that contribute to our overall well-being.
Absolutely. Those factors are crucial. Sleep, for example,
Yeah.
is often overlooked,
It is.
but it's so vital for hormone regulation, stress management, and even muscle recovery.
Okay.
Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night.
I know. I could definitely use more sleep.
Probably most of us could.
And then there's stress.
Yeah.
You know, that constant companion.
Oh, yes, stress.
Yeah.
It's a major player in so many health issues,
Right.
including weight management. Don't underestimate the impact of incorporating stress-reducing practices into your routine. Things like meditation yoga,
Yeah.
spending time in nature, or even just taking a few deep breaths.
It all comes back to finding that balance, you know,
Uh,
between the sympathetic and parasympathetic.
Right.
When we can manage stress effectively,
Yeah.
we help our bodies kind of shift out of that constant fight or flight
Exactly.
and into a more balanced state.
Yes.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. It's so easy to get caught up in the quick fix mentality.
It is.
But, you know, true sustainable fat loss is really about making those consistent, healthy choices
Yeah.
day in and day out. It's a journey, not a destination.
I couldn't agree more. Patience and consistency are key.
Yeah.
Trust the process, be kind to yourself along the way, and celebrate the progress you make.
This has been so insightful. I think we're ready to move on to part 3. Welcome back. We've talked a lot about, you know, like the physical side of fat loss,
Right.
hormones, exercise, nutrition.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to touch on something just as important,
Okay.
the mental and emotional aspects.
Yeah, that's a great point. We often focus so much on the physical changes that
Yeah.
we're trying to make that we kind of forget about the role our minds play in the process.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
So how do our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions actually impact our ability to lose fat?
Well, our mental state can have a huge impact on our actions and behaviors,
Right.
which ultimately affects our fat loss journey. If we're constantly engaging in negative self-talk, feeling stressed, or even fearing failure, it can really sabotage our efforts to make healthy choices.
It's like we're fighting a battle on two fronts. You know, we're trying to make these changes,
Right.
but we're also dealing with these internal struggles that can hold us back.
They can, and that's why cultivating a positive mindset and developing coping mechanisms for stress and negative emotions are so important.
So alongside all the practical steps,
Yeah,
we need to really prioritize our mental and emotional well-being.
we do.
Are there any strategies that can help us, you know, develop a healthier mindset around this whole fat loss thing?
Absolutely. One powerful technique is to kind of shift your focus from what you're restricting
Okay.
to what you're gaining.
Quite.
So instead of dwelling on, the foods you're giving up,
Right.
try focusing on the abundance of delicious, nutrient-rich foods you're adding into your diet.
It's about reframing our perspective, you know?
It
It's
is.
seeing it not as deprivation, but as self-care,
Exactly.
nourishment.
Yeah, and remember to celebrate those small victories along the way.
Yes.
Each step forward, no matter how small, is a win worth acknowledging.
I love that, you know, it's about finding those wins,
It is.
big or small,
Yes.
and using them to build momentum. But we also have to be realistic. You know, there are going to be setbacks.
Of course.
Those times when we slip up or, you know, make choices that don't align with our goals. How do we handle those moments without getting discouraged?
Well, setbacks are a normal part of any journey,
Right.
and fat loss is no exception.
Yeah.
The key is to approach those setbacks as opportunities for growth and learning,
Okay.
rather than viewing them as failures.
Well, instead of beating ourselves up over a slip-up,
Right.
we can use it to learn, adjust our approach, and move forward.
Exactly. Analyze what happened.
Uh-huh.
Try to identify any potential triggers.
Right.
And come up with a plan to prevent similar situations in the future.
This is such great advice. It's about embracing that growth mindset.
It is.
Seeing challenges as opportunities to refine our strategies.
I love that.
But even with a positive mindset and a plan in place,
Yeah.
I think we all have those moments when our motivation dips. What are some things we can do to stay motivated,
One of the most effective strategies is to reconnect with your why.
Oh.
Why is fat loss important to you?
Yeah.
What are those deeper reasons driving your desire to make a change?
Right.
Tap into those intrinsic motivators.
So it's about reminding ourselves of the bigger picture,
Yes.
those reasons that sparked our journey in the first place.
You got to write down those reasons, create a vision board, or just take a few minutes to reflect
Okay.
on how achieving your goals will impact your life.
Those are great ideas, and I think it's important to remember
Yeah.
that sustainable fat loss takes time and effort.
Yeah.
It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Couldn't agree more. Patience and consistency are key.
Yes.
Trust the process, be kind to yourself along the way, and celebrate the progress you make.
This has been such an insightful conversation.
It has.
We've learned that fat loss is so much more than just calories in, calories out.
It's this complex interplay of biology, psychology, and behavior.
It really is.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's about understanding how our amazing bodies work, adopting a positive mindset, and making sustainable choices
I agree.
that support our overall health and well-being.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for sharing your expertise and helping us understand this complex subject in such a clear and engaging way.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, remember that knowledge is power, and you now have a wealth of information to empower you on your own fat loss journey. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of fat loss. We'll catch you on the next one.